Good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. Back to the non-con game previews today. I've done a whole series of these videos where I talk about some of the bigger non-con games coming up in the college football season in 2022. I've made a playlist. Click the playlist, you'll pull up all the games I've done so far. Maybe there's some you're interested in or whatever. These aren't prediction videos, just kind of my thoughts about the game. Up today, Georgia versus Oregon. That's right. Your defending 2021 national champion Georgia Bulldogs are taking on none other than the Oregon Ducks. Week 1 this year in a neutral site game in Atlanta, Georgia. And hey, Oregon fans, if there are any, I'm with you. This isn't a neutral site game. I don't like neutral site games. I don't like neutral site games regardless. Now, in this case, one team's traveling an hour and the other team's traveling across country. That's completely insane to try to think of that as a neutral site game. But I don't like neutral site games, even if, both teams are an hour away from whatever stadium they're playing in. I'm going to keep saying this. Most of y'all have heard it. I have a crazy idea that college football games should be played, wait for it, on college campuses. I don't like neutral site games either. And this is not a neutral site game. You got to travel a long way to play this one. With that being said, though, does it really matter, Oregon, man? Probably not. I mean, this game, they could play this game on top of an abandoned Sears, literally on the roof of an old abandoned Sears, anywhere on planet Earth. They could play this on the moon. They could play this game on the moon. They could play it in whatever Hollywood studio they filmed the moon landing in. It wouldn't matter. But no, this is not a neutral site game. It's not fair. You got to travel all this way, Georgia. But in the end, doesn't matter. Georgia would win either way. I'm excited about this game. I mean, most people alive, anybody younger than me has never seen Georgia play Oregon. They've only played one time, and that was in 1977. Yours truly, Uncle Lou, not even born until 1978. So, if you're my age or any younger at all, you've never even seen these two teams play. So, it's got that going for it, right? SEC versus Pac-12. Georgia, if you look at most of these, are way too early preseason polls that everybody and their brother likes to put out. Most people have Georgia somewhere in the top 3. Most people have Oregon somewhere in the 11 to 15 range. I've seen a lot of polls that have them at 11 and 12. So 2 pretty good teams, or at least the expectations are that these will be 2 pretty good teams for next season. Now, one obvious interesting point about this game, right? Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning's been the defensive coordinator at Georgia under Kirby Smart for the last couple of years. He replaced Mel Tucker, right? Yeah, Mel Tucker was the defensive coordinator at Georgia. Mel Tucker left for a head coaching job at Colorado. He's now at Michigan State. When Mel Tucker left a couple of years ago, Dan Lanning took over, picked up right where Mel Tucker left off. Defense didn't skip a beat, and did pretty good job at DC, of course, winning the national title last year. And I give mostly the defense to credit for that national title, so shout out to Dan Lanning. He's now your coach, Oregon, man, out in Oregon. I don't know how good of a head coach he'll be. I have no idea. Anytime you hire a new head coach at any school, it's a crapshoot, really. Even if you hire a guy that's been a coach for a long time and has been successful somewhere, there's no guarantee that success would transfer to, the new school, So I'm not saying I think Dan Lanning will be a bad head coach. I'm just saying I don't have any idea. When Georgia hired Kirby Smart, I had no idea if he was going to be a good head coach or not. Why? Never been head coach before. So, sometimes these things work out, sometimes they don't. There are a lot of examples of elite defensive coordinators who have gone on to become great head coaches. Of course, most notably, Nick Saban, considered by most people to be the greatest college football head coach of all time. Kirby Smart, a longtime defensive coordinator. Brent Venables at Clemson, getting his opportunity now at Oklahoma. Brent Venables has been a defensive coordinator since, 2003 or something. The guy's been a defensive coordinator forever. Oklahoma for a long time, Clemson for a long time, now head coach at Oklahoma. Dan Lanning, head coach at Oregon. Can Dan Lanning beat Kirby Smart, though, in his first ever game as a head coach with a roster that's nowhere near as talented as Georgia's, and he's got to travel all the way across the country into Georgia's backyard to play the game? Probably not. I mean, like I said, this isn't a prediction video, and it's not really a trash-talking video either. But realistically, well, let me ask the people that are watching right now, what do you expect the spread to be on this game? I expect it to be somewhere around 13 points, don't you? this is a tough spot for Oregon, in my opinion. Brand new head coach, got to go a long way, play an opponent that the players at least are unfamiliar with. Now, Dan Lanning will be familiar with most of Georgia's players. Whether or not he figures out a way to stop them or not, now that's a different story. But don't you think Georgia's probably going to be somewhere 10 to 13 point favorite? I mean, that's what I'm thinking, possibly a little more. So it's not trash talk, I don't think, for me to say, Georgia is probably expected to win this game. I'll make preview videos over the summer and all that when the games get closer. But, Georgia should be a significant favorite in this one. Oregon loses probably its two best players off of last year's team. Georgia loses a lot, too, particularly on defense. And week one games can be a little weird and strange. A lot of times, coaches, even though you practice all summer long, you have your fall camps and all that kind of stuff, coaches never really know what they have until you line it up week one, kick it off, and start playing ball. If you look at Georgia last year, their week one game was weird. Very strange game last year in week one. Barely beat a pretty average Clemson team, right? And then you look at what happened the rest of the season. Every game they played was a blowout except the SEC championship game. Nobody even came close to them the rest of the year. So week one games can be strange. You see some weird things happen. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you feel, Georgia returns its starting quarterback from last year, Stetson Bennett. They get almost all of their wide receivers back. They get their tight ends back. They get a lot of pieces on the offensive line back. They are losing their top two rushers from last year, Zamir White and James Cook. But if you know anything at all about Georgia, they're backloaded. They're stockpiled at the running back position. Kenny McIntosh, Kendall Milton, Dejon Edwards should see an increased role this year. And freshman coming in, Branson Robinson, should be pretty good too. So nothing really to worry about at the running back position. Now, in defense, I think we lose 9 starters. Now, again, it was hard to pinpoint 11 starters for Georgia last year. Georgia played about 15 or 16 defensive players, a lot. I mean, you could really count about 15 or 16 different guys as starters. The position group that worries me the most from last year to this coming year is the inside linebackers. We lose our top 3 inside linebackers, of course, Nakobe Dean, but then Channing Tindall and Quay Walker as well. Lose Jordan Davis on the defensive line. Jalen Carter was kind of overshadowed last year because Jordan Davis got so much media attention and fan attention, and deservedly so. This isn't a popular opinion, but I actually think Jalen Carter may be a better overall player than Jordan Davis. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, and one of the things that people liked about Jordan Davis so much was his personality. Not that he wasn't a great football player, because he was, but his personality really drew people to him. Jalen Carter's an elite defensive lineman, elite nose guard, defensive tackle, wherever you want to put him. Absolutely elite. And he played a lot last year because Jordan Davis really couldn't play on passing downs. Third and long, he wasn't in there. Second and long, most of the time he wasn't in there. You send Jalen Carter in. I don't really think Georgia's going to miss much by losing Jordan Davis. And like I said, I know that's an unpopular opinion, but that's how high I am on Jalen Carter. I think the secondary will be better next year. Keely Ringo year 2. Tyke Smith comes back after being injured for all of last season. And we've got some really talented young corners to play on the other side of Keely. So it's really just the inside line. Nolan Smith comes back as an edge rusher. Robert Beal, lots of players. So the inside linebacker is what concerns me defensively. What doesn't concern me is the fact that this is a matchup for Georgia against one of Kirby Smart's former assistants. And unlike some coaches I know, Kirby Smart does not lose games to former assistants. No, that's right. He doesn't. He's undefeated against former assistants. The last time I mentioned that, I had some idiot in the comment section tell me, well, it's easy for Kirby to be undefeated against former assistants, Lou. None of his former assistants are head coaches. Thanks for telling me you don't watch football without telling me you don't watch football. But, of course, Shane Beamer, head coach of South Carolina, former assistant under Kirby Smart. Mel Tucker, head coach, Michigan State, former assistant under Kirby Smart. Sam Pittman, Arkansas, former assistant under Kirby Smart. And, of course, now, Oregon man, Dan Lanning. Kirby's never lost to any of those other people, and he's not going to lose to you, in my opinion. Anyway, be an interesting game, won't it? Yes, it will. I'll be watching it. Look, a lot of people watch this game. A lot of people. Honestly, the Pac-12... Now, the Pac-12 got a lot of juice last year when UCLA beat LSU early in the season. Remember that? Well, then turns out LSU was mush doo-doo. I mean, they were just absolutely horrible. Cost a man his job, too. Ed Orgeron, you remember him? That guy cost him his job. He's gone. Brian Kelly there now. See how he can do. The Pac-12 could really use a big win over the SEC. The Pac-12 struggled against elite SEC opponents going back really about 15 years to when Oregon was really, really good under Chip Kelly and kept losing to elite SEC teams all the time. I know LSU beat them, Auburn beat them, another team. So we'll see. We'll see. It's an interesting game to me because it's an opponent that I don't get to see Georgia play very often. Well, in this case, ever. I've never seen Georgia play Oregon. And I do respect Oregon as a program. I think Oregon's really good. They've been disappointing to me the last 2 years because I thought they had the coaching and the talent to win the Pac-12 and make the playoff. And instead of finding a way to do that, they found a way to not do that. I mean, Southern Cal had its worst season in 30 years last year. Arizona State fell off the map. There was no one else in the Pac-12 any good other than Utah, and they blew you out twice. Now, Mario Cristobal's gone now to Miami, so that now Miami can start getting blown out twice a year by teams like Utah instead of you. We'll see what Dan Lanning can do for you. How many uniforms? Don't you have something like 1,800 uniform combinations? I don't know. Has that translated to any national titles?